and welcome back to the Pals Anime Lounge, a podcast where a bunch of pals get together to talk about anime using the 3-episode rule. I'm your host Nikki, and joining me are Ace.
Hello.
And Rhodes.
Hello.
Welcome one, welcome all. Today's episode, we are talking about Opera Girl. Before we get into it though, this is the first anime of the summer 2021 lineup that we actually have to give a content warning for. Listener discretion is advised. This show does touch on subjects of eating disorders, stalking, and sexual assault. We will touch on these in the following discussion, but we won't go into too much detail, so just forewarning on that. But what is Opera Girl about? Well, the show is, interestingly, as I found out actually, this is my interesting fact, the entire setting of this anime is actually based on a real place, a real school/theater company. But it's loosely based, but they're really not trying. Like it's like literally the building looks the same. It's the same location. It's kind of hilarious actually. I didn't know until I looked it up, so I guess unless you knew. But so Opera Girl, it is a drama school shoujo series based on a manga, and it is done by Pine Jam, a fairly new anime studio. They've not done too much. Notable works include Gamers and Just Because. It's 13 episodes, and the plot follows essentially two young girls trying to get into this prestigious theatrical arts school, but I'm just going to call it an opera school. It's an all-girls opera school, bar a few like male teachers, and yeah, that's kind of the general plot, is they want to get into this school and become like the best at what they do. But along the way, we see them kind of deal with the sort of harsh realities of the entertainment industry, as you will, overcoming some personal challenges, as well as, dealing with their peers. And one of the characters is also an idol, which gives us an interesting angle where we see kind of that side of things bleed into the opera and the plot of the show, as well as some of the dark sides of that too. I'll be honest, whilst this show is visually stunning and has some really nice animation, I found it quite awkward to watch even before getting to some of the more questionable moments, just because of the sort of the way it frames things and builds things up. You kind of feel the anxiety of the characters, which on the one hand is actually really well done and really good. And even the themes that it is tackling, for the most part in the first 3 episodes, I want to say it deals with them well. I'm not too sure on that one. I don't know about how you two feel about that.
I think it deals with them realistically, which means not very well, because your average person doesn't deal with that sort of stuff particularly well.
That is a better way of phrasing what I was trying to say. Yeah, it's a very realistic sort of view into these subjects, and as we said, content warning, and as I've said, like it was very awkward to watch, even like the opening minute where nothing bad happens. You've just got one of the main characters on a train, and the show opens up essentially with someone like watching an idol performance on his phone, and he very quickly realizes that the girl opposite him is the idol, and he tries to approach her, and you can see that there's like the anxiety building, and even just within that moment, as she's like trying to get out of the train station and people notice her, that was uncomfortable, and that's a reality of that situation, of that line of work as well.
It does a brilliant job of making it feel uncomfortable for you, but not in like a cartoonish way, or like it's not like you're uncomfortable because the way it's being done is poor. You feel uncomfortable because like in your head you know that reality is true. Not just for idols, really, just for women in general, I would say, but it does a good job of, like, without doing anything particularly malicious or scary, it does a good job of like making you feel uncomfortable and making you show why she would be uncomfortable in that situation. And I think that was really good, because at first I thought it was like, I've watched enough anime that tries to that tries to tackle tough themes in the past, where they just completely drop the ball with them, and at first I was like, oh my god, I hope like the absolute worst does not happen, because it has to happen, and it doesn't, and you're kind of like, oh thank god, but it creates a very difficult air around the character, but it does it in the right way rather than just going all in on the wrong things, which I thought was very good.
Yeah, it kind of tackles these subjects in kind of a mature way, rather than what you may stereotypically expect an anime kind of to deal with. Like, we all know fan service and God knows what. So you know, there's sort of an expectation that when an anime tries to deal with certain themes, it's like, they're not going to handle it too well. But this show, they at least for the most part, from what we see in the first episodes, like, yeah, they're realistic portrayals of these like challenges that these young girls are facing. And I think that's also why it is uncomfortable. Is they are young, like they're teenagers, but like they're teenagers.
Yeah, it's good. I think one of the important things it does is that the guy trying to approach her on the train, there's literally nothing to suggest he's a bad or harmful person in any way. It shows the reality of constantly being like chased down or like sought after by people. Like, it doesn't matter that he probably just wants to say, "Oh, hey, I'm a fan," and that'll be it. Like most people do. Like it's just that it's uncomfortable having people follow you and chase you and recognize you, and it does a good job of showing that without showing the absolute worst of it. It's just uncomfortable no matter who it is. Like it doesn't matter if it's a nice fella or a bad fella. Like it's not great.
Yeah, and it's juxtaposed against what is arguably a very colourful and bright art style of the show. Like, you know, the movement and the actual art style is really nice on the eyes. Like it's quite satisfying to watch, if you will. Which I suppose that's kind of, you expect that given that it's about acting and opera, and I mean it's just kind of general theatre performance stuff. I don't know anything about this sort of stuff. I apologise. So, but like, yeah, you know, you've got that kind of juxtaposition, which is intriguing.
You've mentioned it looks good a couple of times, and my note, one of my notes in the second episode is some anime are food porn. This is costume porn, because we see backstage and shows off some of the costumes that are really well designed.
Yeah, definitely. I think like as a colorblind man, even I can appreciate like the color they choose in this show. Like it's amazing. Like it really does. Like everything stands out. Like every like even the smallest things in a scene that they want you to notice are done in such a way where you notice them, and I think it's brilliant. Like I don't think the animation is the best. Like I think it's all right. It's not bad by any stretch. I think what makes everything stand out is the character designs and the color of what they're wearing and the things around them. And I think that bumps the animation quality up more than the animation quality does itself.
So the designs are really good, but right at the start of the second episode, the tall girl Sarasa,
Yes,
the main character, says, "Look at this school uniform!" All excited. It's legitimately the most generic school uniform, the Japanese school uniform that any Westerner could have imagined. It's just a sailor outfit, blue skirt. It's Sailor Moon's school uniform.
yeah,
Yeah, because actually something I should mention is the show kind of has two protagonists, if you will. Well, I suppose one, but our main protagonist, you know, super bubbly, super happy, super charismatic, you know, wants to get there, you know, get the leading role, wants to be the best. Maybe necessarily hasn't got sort of the best talent, but like they're committed, they're driven. So you've got that side, and then you've got the other character, who AI.
yeah, I can't pronounce it either. It literally is AI, isn't it?
Yeah, the pronunciation escapes me. Apologies. And that's the idol character who wants to get in, and it's their motivation is more wanting to get away from the idol scene and that sort of awkwardness, if you will. And they've got very valid reasons for wanting to get away from it as well, and be in sort of all-female production company, if you will. And underneath that, you've then got, you know, the super competitive nature of this school. You know, the sort of internal conflicts you find, little bits of bullying. I mean, it's, you know, it's an anime of a bunch of, you know, high school girls.
Another one of my notes is Mean Girls, the anime.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, God, yeah.
Mean Girls, the anime, with great costumes.
And what, as we've been talking, I've realised that Sarasa is she's Naruto crossed with Sailor Moon, because she's blonde and a bit clumsy, and she wears the exact same school uniform, and she's like Naruto because she wants to be the very best, and she's already decided she's going to be the very best. Nothing can dissuade her, and that was Naruto's whole deal.
Yeah.
Wasn't that also Ash Ketchum's?
Yeah, I in my notes, verbatim, OMG, she's Naruto. In quotes, I'm going to be the very best like no one ever was. Wait, that's Pokemon.
Yeah. I believe Naruto. Yeah, Naruto was Believer. I've also just reminded myself as well that like one of her character traits is that well, by the standards of anime characters and Japanese women, she's quite tall. Like, she's much taller than any other character.
Yeah. But that's an important element because there's a running theme that she's too tall to be a success, and that's part of the problem. Like, the role she wants, she isn't the right look because she's too tall to be that role. Because for her to do the role, they have to find a man who's taller than her. But she's so tall that it will be difficult to do that. And, you know, like, it's the cruel reality of life of being like, your height is against you, even though you are very talented in every way.
The thing is, she doesn't know that before she starts school. In fact, she doesn't know anything about this school. It's bad luck to stand below this specific tree before your first day. She does that. Oh, you need to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to this special training. She has no idea that this special training is happening. You need to wake up at this time to get ready to do all the cleaning. She has no idea that she has to do any cleaning.
She doesn't even know how to wake up.
She does not.
To be fair, I can relate to that.
Well, yeah, I think we all can at some point. Except you, Ace, you've got kids, so you ain't got a choice.
All of that, though, ties together, though, to just reinforce the, like, reality of the school, this training regime, this competitive nature. Like, it all, I don't want to say it justifies any of the sort of things that happen, but, like, the show does a really good job at making sure you understand the context for, like, why certain characters are being, quote, mean girls, and, like, why there's this extra pressure on them from the teachers. Like, it does a really good job at, like, making sure that as a viewer, you understand the ins and outs and the harsh reality of this world, as well as that, like, that's just how it is. Like, you know, even with all your charisma and charm and your dream to become Naruto, you know, you've got to overcome a lot of ridiculous things, like being too tall, like, you know.
And they're seemingly impossible things as well. Like, you can't not be too tall. If you're too tall, you're too tall. You can't do anything about that. And it plays a lot into the idea that as much as everyone in this school is talented, like, every single girl is talented, and it does a good job of making that point, of being like, they wouldn't be here if they weren't the best at what they did. But they're all competing with each other. It's not a normal school. They're all going for certain roles. They want to be in the best role, and only a select few can be those roles. Like, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and they do a really good job of showing that. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are, because other people will pull you down because they have to in order to get ahead. Which is sad, but it's the way it works in the real world, and it's a shame it has to work that way. But when there's only ever one leading role in a play, everyone will fight to be that leading role. No one wants to be the background character.
If my memory serves, they make a comment at the beginning that, like, they had over 1,000 applicants and over 200 people make it through, and then it's something like there's 40 roles at the end, give or take. I might be wrong on those numbers, but yeah, that's the point. Is, like, they're all the best, but ultimately they've got to then find the best of the best.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, there's the best, and then there are the prime candidates, and that's what they're looking for, and not everyone can be that. And the thought of missing out on that is enough to make some of them shittier people. And I think the show does a really good job of replicating that. Like, people are dicks, but at the same time, you're kind of like, I get why you're like that. Like, you're all dicks to each other because that's just the world that's been created, and it shouldn't be like that, but that's the way it is, and that's the way you're all taught to be, and that's why you're like that.
They do. One of the teachers does specify that they have to get along with each other because they are stuck together, and by staying in this school, the only thing they can do is this school. This school will graduate them into this theatre production company, and they will have no other talents to get jobs anywhere else.
Yeah, that is a fair point, and I guess that would put the fear in anyone, though, wouldn't it? And that's another thing they show. Like, you can't fail, because if you do fail,
you've got nothing.
You've literally got there's no backup plan. Like, it's over. And when you think you are competing with the best of the best, and there's only so many spaces, that's a lot of people to be told they've got nothing.
But to lighten things back up, in the first episode, one of the teachers says, "Hey, why is there two of that girl?" And the other teacher says, because they're twins. The dude forgot that twins are a thing that exists.
Yeah, you get the questions because he's like, "Oh, I was wondering why the same girl entered twice." And you're like, "Surely they've got different names. Surely they don't have the same name, man. Come on."
They have similar names. One's Chiki and one's Chika, something like that. There's one's an I and one's an A. It's weird. I had to go back and check in the subtitles.
And there's a bit as well with it. Like, there's no favourites when they're handing out people in the rooms, but the two twins are in a room together. And you're like, hang on a minute, this is bullshit.
As I mentioned at the start, the series is based on a manga, but I'm going to be honest, like, I don't know if it's just my anime list or just the lack of my understanding. I believe that the series, the 13-episode series, is based on a manga of the same name, which ran for 2 years and is now done. And now there's a sequel manga, which is still going and has been since 2015. However, there is a different manga which has a very similar name, which has already had anime adaptations. So I'm not entirely too sure how much material there is. I think that the 13 episodes is just adapting those. I think it's like 2 or 3 volumes, and then if there's going to be another series, it'll take the currently publishing sequel. But regardless, according to my anime list, the manga is quite popular as well as the series. Both the anime currently airing at the time of recording and the manga have over 7 on their score.
Yeah, I do think it handles its themes well. Everyone feels very human. Some people are a bit overbearing in how they are, which that's how some people are. Some people are very reserved, which again is how some people are. There's a very realistic collection of personalities. There's no one who's been at the forefront of any scene has faded to the background for the sake of the main characters. Like, they've all stood out. You've been like, okay, that's what she's like. It's not 100 people in a school and 98 of them are this way, and then you've got the 2 main characters, and I like that. Because really, it's, I guess the way it's set up is you can't really have a rotating cast of characters. Like, those girls who are there will be there all the way through. I mean, obviously they may introduce some new ones, and maybe they won't, but it's set up in a way where it's like these girls will be here from now till the end, so they all need to have different personalities, and they do, and I think they do it very well.
Yeah, no, I'm inclined to agree. And even when it comes to dealing with it, sort of like the way it portrays its themes, it's a very mature and realistic way, which ultimately does make it uncomfortable to view. But it's not sugarcoating anything. It's not dancing around any bushes. Like, it's showing you a very realistic and sort of gritty. Gritty is maybe the wrong word, but you get. I think we've said enough on that side of things. Like, I think you kind of get what you're getting into, but. As we always do, we give a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a meh based on the first 3 episodes. So, Ace, what's your verdict going to be?
I'm kind of torn between a thumbs up and a thumbs down and a meh, because the themes that it started to touch on in the 3rd episode and showed us of one character's backstory were unpleasant, and I don't want to watch an anime about unpleasant themes. That's why there's enough of that. I want something light and breezy, or just not that. It's well animated. It really looks good. The opening song is pretty good, but it's just not something that I want to watch any more of.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Rhodes, what about you?
It's a difficult thumbs up. I appreciate it's not the easiest thing in the world to watch, but I think it handles very difficult things really well. That could change, obviously. This is based on the first 3 episodes. It is anime. They could absolutely fucking flush it down the toilet for all I know. But it's something I'll stick with. It's heavy watching, so it's probably not something I'd binge watch, because you'd need to water it down with something lighthearted. But it's a very intriguing cast of characters that they've created so far, and it's something I want to see develop. And despite its heavy tone, I hope it keeps and handles it as well as it has done so far, but we'll find out. But based on the first 3 episodes, it's definitely a recommend if you're willing to sit through such a thing, for me.
Yeah, No, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, it's going to be a meh from me, simply because for me personally, it's a bit too much. I struggled to get through the first three, but I can respect the show for what it's trying to do, how it's trying to handle it, and as you said, like I think if you can, take it episode by episode and kind of you're comfortable with the themes that it's tackling, I think there's a good show to be found here. But at the same time, don't force yourself to watch something that makes you uncomfortable. As we said at the time of recording, it is a 7.35 on my anime list, and most people seem to be resonating the same in that its handling of themes is very kind of realistic, and if you can stomach that, then yeah, you'll find something to enjoy. But that, I think, will bring us to the end. Thank you very much for joining me, Ace and Rhodes. And of course, thank you very much for listening. We release new episodes every Thursday and Saturday at 8 p.m. UK time, so make sure to check back to wherever you're listening to this episode to catch the next one when it goes live.